going to do this. You are going to, you are going to use factoring to solve quadratic equations. Here, you're not going to do this, but we will right now. If the direction said this, write down this problem on your little piece of notepaper, equals 0. You can't solve an equation unless there's an equal sign, otherwise it's just factoring. If I said to solve this, and this is not looking real well. In other words, you want to find what value of r, when you put it in here, would solve this and give you 0. Okay? The first thing you would do is you would try to factor the trinomial. This is going to be, I need to know that. Factor the trinomial. And that's what we've been doing for today or whatever. So you're going to factor 3r squared plus 29r plus 56. That's the first thing you're going to do. And when I factor it, suggestions, what am I going to get for the first term? Have no choice, Michael rule, but to get what for my first terms? 3r and r. Okay. Again, the only way to get a plus here and a plus there is for both of them to be positive. So you know this has to be true. Okay. And your choices are what? 56 breaks into what? 8 and 7 would seem to be the logical ones, but I'm not so sure that's going to work, is it? Well, if I put 7 here, I get 21. Oh, I do. Sure. 7 and 8. Correct? That'll work out. Everybody's happy with that? Now, don't forget, this whole thing originally ended up equaling 0. Right? So, children, here is the gist of today's thing here. Step number 2, because you know that anything multiplied by 0 gives you 0, correct? You want to find out when does this equal 0? Because if you get a 0 in this parenthesis, 0 times that gives you 0, which means it would equal 0 because that's what you're looking for. Or also this, when will this equal 0? Because if you get a 0 for this parenthesis, you get 0 times anything is going to give you 0. So you want to find out, step number 2 is you need to figure out when will the parentheses equal 0, because that will be your answer. Now this one's easy. I'm going to guess that most of you know what number when you add 7 to it will give you 0. So we know one answer has to be -7, because -7 plus 7 is 0, and 0 times anything will give you 0, so that one works. This one, not quite as obvious. Somebody? And here's the beauty of math for all of you that don't ever get the beauty of math. I want to know when this is 0, so off to the side I'm going to do this. I have 3r plus 8. When will that be equal to 0? Just write an equation out of it and solve it for 0. I subtract 8, and then I divide by 3. And there is your other answer. It's not pretty, but that's what the answer is. When r equals -8/3, this whole thing will be 0. So these are my 2 answers. And maybe you'll catch on. It gets pretty quick after you do a couple of these. You're like, oh yeah, well that would be subtracted over divided by that. ET?
Can we leave it in a bracket with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. The beauty about math is when you get to the upper levels, they don't care so much. Once it's reduced, they don't have to be mixed numbers or whatever. Okay? So that is mostly what you're going to do for tomorrow. This is a problem here. This one already did the factoring for you, so all you have to do is say what it is. Well, what are your 2 answers for this? When will this one be equal to 0? When m is -6. This one over here takes a little thought. Again, if you're not catching on to it right now, do this. When will 7m minus 2 be equal to 0? Add 2 to get it to the other side, and then divide by 7. So the other answer is when m equals 2/7. Those are your two answers. Look at another one. Oh, that is easy. I've always said it's easy. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Maybe you catch on. Can you figure this one out without really doing the equation? What's this one gonna be? Add the 6 to the other side, divide by the number in front of the letter, you get what? 6/7. 7x minus 6, when does it equal 0? Add 6, divide by 7. So when m is 6/7, and when, x is 6/7, and when x is -3. That was a pretty simple one. And this one down here, when p is 1, and when p is, add the 6, divide by 7, 6/7 again. Not so bad? Not so bad, alright, good. That will conclude today's